All right, hey bootcamp prep. I've never done this. I hope it works. This is a quick video to go over the permutations generator function that we did in the WeDo last Wednesday, June 15th. So what we have to do is write a function that we give it a string, and it gives back an array of every possible permutation of the string. So for it's going to give the E and all the other ones. And we have to make it do that automatically. And it's a pretty hard one. In the immersive full stack program, we did this as we were preparing for actual job interviews. So if you can at least nod along with this, you're in a pretty good spot, having not even done a boot camp yet. Cool. So here's going to be our strategy. It's going to have to happen in stages. So if our word is the, we're going to start with an array with just one letter. Then the next step is we take that one letter and we add the next letter to both sides of it. And then we keep doing that until, so now the E goes first, then the E goes, right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to insert the E into every possible slot it can go in this first element of the previous array that we were working with. So it's going to go ETH, then it's going to go HET, then it's going to go HTE, and then we move on to the second element of the previous array that we were working with. So then it's going to go ETH, CHE, that's the one that we know, and then, wait, you know what I'm trying to do here. I don't need to belabor this. But so that's how our programmatic approach is going to work. And if you were there on Wednesday, remember this takes a ton of loops, and let's start doing it. So we know that we have to have a storage array in order to push things into. And also, because we are going to have a new storage array each time we add the next letter from the string we're given, we're going to start by initializing two storage arrays. So we'll call one prev, which will be the one that's like the one we were working on last time through the loop. You'll see what that's for. And a now array, which is the one that we will build on the present iteration through the string. So the first thing, all we've got is this string, and we need to build all the permutations using it. So we know that the first step, regardless of what we do next, is going to be to loop through that string. I just belched because that was a good Bloody Mary that I had before. Now let's write our loop. So we're just going to say var I equals 0, I is less than the length of the string, and we increment by 1 each time. And let's see how we're doing. So log out the string at I. You guys are old hands at this now. Cool. That was what we expected. So every time we iterate, every time we loop, we have access to one letter in the string. So we're not done yet. Now the next stage is we have to build up the array that we're going to return. Now you see our first step was just to have in the first array the first letter. So we're actually going to go ahead and skip the first round through. We're going to start at the second index of the string in our loop. And we're going to manually insert the first letter. In this case, it'll be T. So now if we log that out again, we should just see the last two letters. And we do. So we're doing pretty great. Now, let's imagine that we're on the second time through this outer loop. And our first step is going to be, so we've got a T in this array. Then our next thing is going to be this H. And what we want to do is build a new array with the H before the T and the H after the T. So we are going to, that doesn't really get at the essence of it yet. Okay, let's imagine that we're here on the third time. And previously, we don't know how long our array was already. It's going to be somewhere between 1 and a whole lot, depending on how long the string that we're given is. So let's imagine that we're on our last round through with the. First, we have to start with the first index of the previous array. We have to insert the next letter, which here is going to be E, in every possible slot. So first we push into the now array E, and then this. Then we put E in the middle of this, and we wind up with this one. Then we put E at the end, and we wind up with this one. And each time we're pushing it into the now array. So each time now is going to be longer and longer. And then we flip them, and then we have an empty now. And then from previous, we build a new now, like this. So our next loop has to loop through previous. Even though the first time previous only has one element, it will be bigger in future. So we have to foresee that we will have to do that loop. So now let's do var j equals 0. And this time we want to handle all indices of the previous array. So by the time we are working on now, we are always going to be referencing previous, and thus this will loop through previous. So j is less than prev dot length, and we increment by 1. So now let's see, what do I even log here? Let's just log string at I. And so what we should see is however many indices there are in prev, that's how many times we log H and E. And it only happens once because at the start there is only one index of prev. If we made it longer, then now there are 2 indices, so we will do the entire loopage twice. We should see H E H E, H H E E, and that happens because this wasn't even important. Why did I go into it? Why does that happen? All right, because this, we do 2 loops within this loop, but here we're still talking about just the second element of the string. So we log H twice because this goes through twice, and then we log E twice because this goes through twice again. So I'm glad I was able to back that up. Now, okay, so we have 2 loops going. Usually 2 loops is enough loops for most things, but 2 loops is not enough loops here because we then have to handle, so within this, let's say prev at j is the index of the previous array that we're now talking about. Tx, tx. So this loop happens twice, and this loop happens twice because we have the t, and then I put an x here. So we're looping tx, tx. Every time that we are in here, we have to do this. We have to insert the next letter into every slot of a given index of the previous array. This is going to require one more loop. So before we were looping through the string. Within that, we are looping through this array. So in this case, once and again. Now we have to loop through this index of the prev array in order to push into the new now array this again, but with E pushed into any slot that's available. So now we are going to, for var k equals 0, k is less than what? Less than prev j dot length, because we are looping through every index of a given index of the previous array. K plus plus. I'm not gonna. Okay, so now here we are. Now we are. Let's say we are wanting to inject an E into a given index of this and push every combination we can do into the new now. So we know that it's going to be now dot push, and what we want to do is have some of this, then inject the E or whatever it is, and then the rest of it. Now the sum of it could be nothing, and then E, and then the rest of it. The sum of it could be the H, and then the E, and the rest of it, or the sum of it could be all of it, and then the E, and then nothing more. It doesn't matter. It has to be done dynamically. So let's start. Let's start with, we have prev j dot slice. We're going to start at 0. We're going to go up to k. Now k is the index of this string that we are now at, and it's going to go from 0 up until the length of this string. And so this is the first part of it. Then we have we have to concatenate string at I, which is the letter of the actual string. Remember that? We were talking about that ages ago, that we are permutating. And then we have to tack on the rest of prev j, the rest of this, or whichever one we are now talking about. So we say string, no we don't, we say prev j dot slice k, and we can do that because k, the slice is non-inclusive with the last, so we haven't actually included the prev at j at k yet in what we're pushing into now. And we can just leave that there because then it will automatically go to the end. Now, I think I made this mistake when we were doing this in class. This is actually going to go up till the length of j because slice is exclusive. And the final, let's say when k is the length of prev at j, we want to, have the entire string and then the E, or whatever the letter string at I is, and then nothing else, because that would be this example when we have ht and then the whole thing goes by, and then we insert the E at the end. So that is why k must go inclusively to the length of prev at j. Okay, and now this is not going to work. Well, first of all, because we haven't returned anything. But also because we're looping again and again and again. Now, at the end of this loop, we've been building a now, and the next time we go through these two loops, we need to switch. So the new previous has to be what was now, because that's how we go from this to this to this and build our array of permutations, and they grow exponentially like this. So what we have to do is set prev equals now, and we set now to an empty array. And that way we build a bigger and bigger array while starting with a fresh one each time we go through this. And better remember to take this out because that doesn't mean anything. And then, so what we're going to return, I made this mistake when we were doing it live too. We have to return prev, just because every time we're here, we set now to nothing. So that's cool. That worked. I was about to say something pretty cool, and now I can't remember what it was. So let's just go over what we've done. So again, here is our approach. You can tune out here if you completely understood what we just did. We put the first letter of the string that we're given into an array. Then we build a new array. So the first prev is just this. Our new now is going to be this by the time we're through with these two. And so what we're doing here, first we're looping through the string because we have to. Then within here, we're looping through the old prev, which the first time is just one letter. So we only do this outer loop once. And then this winds up being two loops through, because first we put the h first and we push it into the now array. Then we put the h second, push into the now array. Then we're here. So now we say prev equals now. So at this point, we've built a now which looks like this. And by the time we go through this second loop, this middle loop again, now prev looks like that, and now looks like this again. And then we go through again. And so we loop through prev, which is now more interesting because we have 2 elements in there. And then in here, what this loop is doing is saying, okay, so now put the E first and push this into the new now, then put the E in the middle, and we get this, we push the new now, then put the E at the end, blah, 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 and then we get onto the second index of prev, and we do the same process. So then now it looks like this, and because that is the end of our string, it's only 3 letters, we just wind up returning this. And if we make it bigger, see, we should now have 24 options, and here they all are. And we're not going to do that by hand because that's gross. And now I remember the thing that we have to do. Let's say we have this as our input. We're not allowed to have doubles. We definitely have doubles. Look, here are 2 doubles. Let's filter out our doubles. This time, we are going to use the filter method, which all arrays have. And it takes a callback function, which is super scary and awesome, will expose you very well to these. So I think we're ready to take a shot at it. So we are going to say prev.filter, and it takes a function. And the way filter works is it loops through the array that you call it on. So we could just say ind. And then the second parameter that it takes is the index of prev of the array that you call it on that it is now at. So there's a built-in loop. This time we're not telling I what to be. I already will go from 0 to the length of this array minus 1. Ind is equal to the value at the index I. So here I should say val at ind. Ind is the index number. Val is the value in this array at index ind. Now, and the way filter works is you always have to return something, and if what you return is truthy, it keeps that element in the array here. And if it's falsy, it filters it out. So you're going to wind up with at most an array of the same length as the original, and at least a completely empty array. And how it works is it returns the new array. So we're just going to return it directly. We could also save it to a variable, but we'll just return it directly. And let's say, I'm going to write this and then explain it. Return index of, call it on, so prev.index of val equals ind. See if that worked before I explain it. Okay, cool, that worked. So the way index of works is it returns the index of the first occurrence of the value in the array that you're using the method on. So let's say we had 2 THNNs before. One was index 22 and one was index 23. So prev.index of whatever value we're talking about right now, let's say, and it's looping through. So eventually it will be THNN. So it's the index of is going to return 22 both times because that is the first occurrence of THNN. Now, so we are looping through. Let's say now we are at index 22. So ind is 22. Prev.index of when it's THNN is going to be 22, and ind is 22. So this array that we're returning is still going to have THNN in it. The next time we're going to be at index, ind is going to be 23. The value is still going to be THNN. Prev.index of THNN is going to be 22, which is not 23. So it does not make it through the filter and does not get returned as this array. So what we're doing here, we can, instead of returning it clearly, just to make it like that, to make it a little more clear, we'd say like var to return, and then return to return. Let's comment that out, and let's just log out to return. You can see it's going to be an array, which is the same one. It's a filtered version of, so let's console log retrieve. And then to return. And see that prev is a lot longer because here we are filtering it. So let's go back to our shorthand, which I like better. This is great, filter, because it uses truthy falsity, which is what we were learning on Wednesday. Confirm we still got it. Yeah, we still got it. All right, cool guys. That is that. You've all been great. You all look really nice this evening, and I'll see you tomorrow, which is Monday. Sweet. Bye.